Pascha, that means it's Flaounes season. I am definitely not as organised as I would like to be, but we're gonna make Flaounes together because I feel like it's been a tradition for the last few years and I just love that for us. I think I need a coffee before I start. I'm going to add my yeast into my lukewarm milk with a pinch of sugar. I'm gonna let that sit for a couple of minutes while it activates. And I'm gonna make a café and come back. Told you I wasn't prepared. That's better. Now I'm really ready. So my yeast is activated now, but before I pour that in, I'm going to put in my masticha and my mechlebim. I keep my masticha in the freezer. That way it's easier to grind. Now I want to eyeball about half a teaspoon of bow. A pinch of sugar really helps as well, so it doesn't stick to the bottom. Now that's turned into a beautiful powder. You can get ground masticha nowadays, but there's something about Flaounes where I want to do everything from scratch. So that goes in with the flour, a pinch of salt, and a pinch of sugar. I'm gonna put extra virgin olive oil and give that a rub. Just gonna rub until I have breadcrumb-like consistency. This part's called rijazma. You know when your yaya goes, I think it's to strengthen the gluten in the flour. Every time I ask someone, like a yaya or a thea, they're like, Next I'm going to add the yeast mixture. Bring that together a little bit. Then I've got a couple of eggs here, which I'm going to lightly beat. The egg gives the pastry a lovely crispiness. Just bringing that together as much as I can before I start adding any water. Now I've got about 100 mils here. I'm going to add it in gradually, see how much it needs. Now every flour is different, every brand of flour. So pour your water in slowly whenever you're making dough. You might not need all of it. Now I'm going to clean all of the dough from the bowl and transfer onto the bench top. And I'm going to give this a good knead until I form a beautiful, soft, elasticated dough. It feels amazing already. You can smell that mechlebi too. Now the way I like to knead my dough is by pushing and folding and then twisting. So push, fold, twist. Push, fold, twist. Push, fold, twist. You got it? Coffee break. We're nearly there. It's been about 5-10 minutes with a coffee break in between. Feeling beautiful. Okay, we are there. Now I'm just pushing it against the bench to form a smooth ball. And I'm doing that by holding the dough by the sides and pushing it lightly against the bench. And you'll see it starts to form a bit of a, I don't know, a bum wrinkle, a dough bum wrinkle. And that just keeps it nice and neat. That's going in the same bowl that we used earlier with a little bit of oil, just a drop. This will help the dough to rise and doesn't stick to the bowl. Some cling film on top so it doesn't dry out. And then I'm going to cover it with a bunch of tea towels. This is going to rest and we're going to leave it to prove for at least an hour. And meanwhile, I'm going to prep my filling. We've got mint, raisin sugar, flour, baking powder, eggs. I've got all my ingredients ready to go. When it comes to the cheese, it's worth grating a couple of days before you're going to make your Flaounes and keeping it in a big bowl in the fridge, uncovered. This is going to help your cheese dry, which means when you add in the egg, it's going to soak up the egg and become a beautiful light mixture. Now I've got Flaounes cheese, which I found at my local greengrocer. I've got halloumi, obviously, And I've got a little bit of pecorino romano because it gives a really lovely flavour. Not everyone likes it. My Betera doesn't like it, but we do, and it gives a lovely strong flavour, so you don't have to add it if you don't want to. Now, I've already added some mastija and mehlebi. Sorry, I did that off camera. Next, I'm going to add some flour, a couple of teaspoons of baking powder, about a teaspoon of dried mint. Now, I like to rub this in between my hands before I add it into my mixture. It just releases the mint aromas. And my mum used to do it, so I'm just copying her. We've got fresh mint here. I've just roughly chopped that up, plenty of it too. I've got lots of raisins. I love raisins in my Flaounes. Now, you're either pro or anti raisins. Obviously optional. Obviously you can add less. I add quite a few. I've got some sultanas in there as well, just for a bit of a colour. With the raisins, actually, I pre-prepared these yesterday. Now, I soaked them in some boiling water. It just plumps them up a little bit and makes them nice and juicy, and strained them and dried them on a large tea towel. Now, I'm just gonna add a bit of sugar, about a teaspoon. Give that a bit of a mix together. How gorgeous is that? You can smell the mastija, the mehlebi, the wonderful cheese. Let's do a bit of a tidy. Now, I'm gonna go in with my avra, making a well. Don't pour all in at once. You wanna see if your cheese is gonna take it or not. Similar with the dough that we made. Just bring that in. I'm gonna use my hands just so I can get a feel for it. Don't want it too soggy, don't want it too dry. Oh, another thing that I added was a little bit of fine semolina to help dry the cheese in. So I did that after I grated the cheese and put it in the fridge. That feels good. See, it's not too mushy, but it kind of holds together when you try to make a ball. We're good to go. Oh, I mean, I don't even need to say anything. Look, she's more than doubled. She's beautiful and smooth, and she smells incredible. Oh my gosh, that mastija mehlebi. Delia. All right, let's get started. I'm gonna punch this down. Just fold it on itself. Let's just leave her there for now. Before I get started, I'm gonna set up my station, and you should do the same. Now, I've got my sesame seeds here, which I've pre-boiled just to cleanse it, because you're gonna see, when you boil it, you're gonna see all this gunk. I do the same with my guluri dactylia bread, anything else that I use with sesame seeds. Now, because it's a little bit wet, it's also gonna help it stick to the pastry or the bread. I'm just gonna lay some out onto a clean tea towel and tray, just like that. Don't have to put it all, just want a thin layer. I'm gonna add just a sprinkle of liganiso and the seed. Then I think we're ready to go. So I've got my sesame ready. I've got some extra flour if needed when I'm rolling it out. I got my masaji, my filling, some beaten egg. I've added another egg into the egg that was remaining from when we were making the mixture. I've got a saucer, you're gonna see why in a minute, and a fork. We are ready to go. Let's make flaounes. Make some space so you can see me. I'm just gonna take a piece of the dough, patting it down, dusting it lightly, and I'm gonna roll it out as thinly as I can. Now, to make sure all my flaounes are going to stay the same size consistently, this is what the little saucer is for. Now, if you want to make them bigger, use a bigger plate. So just cutting around the plate, lifting the plate gently with the knife, and then same thing again. I'm going to remove the excess dough. Now, This is where you get your sesame seeds. Carefully grab your piece of dough and tap it into the sesame. Flip sesame side up, and then with your rolling pin, lightly roll over to make the sesame stick. Flip them over. Now we're going to fill them. I'm going to add a heaped tablespoon of the filling. Like that. Can you see? Oh, it smells so good. Now I'm going to fold the pastry on one side, fold it on the other, just give it a little pinch on those edges. With a fork, I'm just going to press down lightly just to make sure it's stuck together. And that's it. That's our first flaune. I'm just going to put that on the tray here and then continue. I'm going to brush them with some beaten egg and then chuck them in the oven. These are going to go into a preheated oven of 180 fan for about 30 to 35 minutes until they're beautiful and golden and smelling absolutely delicious. In it, babe? Yeah. Now I've got a little bit of leftover dough, which is absolutely fine. It's better to have more dough than having mixture left over, otherwise you're ending up having to make dough all over again. I'm just gonna make kypriakes with it. I'm gonna cut this into quarters and then roll this out into a long snake. And then roll it in some of the sesame. Roll it again so it sticks. And then grab it from the middle, like that. And then just twist two times. And then pat it down, let it stick, pinch the ends. And there you've got a little gulurui. Done. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, babes. Oh my gosh. Pastry's beautiful and thin. The filling's, oh, just so moist. Oh my god, anymore. Light, flavoursome. Babe, nailed it.